I'm going to call this meeting to order, and let's have the back row there lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, excellent job there, back row. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilman Zimmerman.
so moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. So just a couple of little housekeeping things. Councilman Shetron, who's, I believe, head of maintenance at Jenner, has work to do tonight so that the Trona mine can keep going. So I don't know, he may be late or he may not be here at all. And then because I have 5 proclamations to read and a number of you are in the audience to receive these proclamations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read them in the order of the agenda. I'll have anybody that wants to speak after I've read the proclamation come up to the podium and say whatever you would like to do, whatever you'd like to offer. And then after all of that's done, instead of us coming back and forth, the council, we walk down here and take pictures. We're going to do it all at that time. So hang around for a moment and we'll do that rather than come back and forth. I think that'll speed things up a little bit. And if nothing else, us older folks won't have to go up and down the stairs too many times late at night. Okay, so first up, and I'm going to have to find it here in this stack, Child Abuse Awareness Month. So bear with me here, because these are all very important issues. Child abuse is a community problem, and finding solution depends on the involvement of each and every citizen throughout our community. By the way, is there somebody here to receive this? Okay, because I did yesterday, did a proclamation with Mayor Como in Rock Springs on this issue. Whereas child abuse is a community problem and finding solution depends on the involvement of each and every citizen throughout our community. And whereas victims of child abuse and neglect are known to be at a higher risk for experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, low academic achievement, drug use, juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, and adult criminality, every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment free from harmful effects of abuse and neglect. And whereas an estimated 1,096 children in Wyoming are victims of abuse and neglect each year. Whereas effective child abuse intervention and community prevention programs succeed excuse me, because of partnerships created among community members, social services, law enforcement agencies, schools, churches, and business and civic organizations. And whereas youth serving prevention programs offer positive alternatives to young people and encourage youth to develop strong ties to their community, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Pete Rust, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 to be Child Abuse Awareness Month in Green River, and a call upon all citizens, community agencies, organizations, and businesses to increase their participation to become more aware of child abuse and its prevention within the community and become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe and nurturing environment. Did you wish to speak to this at all? Okay, so if you hang around, we'll be doing a picture here too, okay? Because the whole point of these is to bring attention in the community. Okay, National Library Week. It'll be at the bottom. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of connection and build community. Whereas libraries connect people to technology, providing access to broadband internet, computers, and training that are critical for accessing education and employment opportunities. Whereas libraries offer opportunities for everyone to connect with new ideas and become their best selves through access to multimedia content, programs, and classes in addition to books. Whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use their resources. Whereas in times of crisis, libraries and library professionals play an invaluable role in supporting their communities, both in person and virtually. Whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. Whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Pete Rust, do hereby proclaim National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th, 2022. During this week, I encourage all residents to connect with their library by visiting online or in person to access resources and services. And I did see the, yeah.
Hello, Mayor Rust and council members. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Lindsay Travis. I am the director for the Sweetwater County Library System. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about the libraries here in Sweetwater County. We have 9 facilities, and I think that that's pretty important that we cover the entire county of Sweetwater. We have the Green River Library here in Green River, obviously. We have 2 in Rock Springs, and then we have 6 rural branches that are out throughout our communities. Libraries are one of the few services that are available and open to every member of the community, and everything that's available at your library is free to access. So if you need to make copies, if you want to check out books, you want to access digital items, they're all free. So it doesn't matter if you can afford to pay for those types of things, you're welcome in the library. A few things you might not know about the library system. We have more than just books. We have a seed library over at the White Mountain Library. So if you're looking to start your garden and want to try some new types of seeds, stop by. We have them available. We have a children's museum at the Rock Springs Library in downtown Rock Springs, free of charge to enter. Same with the Community Fine Arts Center, which is also part of the library system. Here in Green River, we check out things like American Girl dolls. So those are things that are not accessible to every member of the population because they're expensive, but kids can come in, check them out, and have fun for a week with them. We also are getting ready to start checking out board games, which is pretty interesting. So if you want to try those out, we should have them this summer. A few more statistics about the libraries. We're very busy at the library. Sometimes people don't realize how many patrons we have that come in there every month. More than 1,200 people attended youth programs at the library last month. That's a lot of kids that came into the libraries. In March, we had nearly 1,300 people, children, visit the Children's Discovery Center. We also have more than 30,000 card holders here in Sweetwater County. With a population of 42,000, that's the majority of people who support the library. Last month, we had 16,000 physical items checked out from the libraries and more than 4,000 digital items. And our meeting rooms are used more than 100 times per month. So we're pretty busy. But if you haven't been to your library in a while, I do encourage you to come and check us out. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Lindsay? Okay, and if you would like us to hang around there
I will.
for a few minutes, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody here for National Service Recognition Day? I'm not going to read it. You guys want to hear this one? Okay, I see some heads shaking. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. Whereas the nation's cities are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs. Whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps members address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century, to fighting the opioid epidemic, to responding to natural disasters, to supporting veterans and military families. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas the national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with local leaders nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, the National Association of Counties, and local leaders across the country for National Service Recognition Day on April 6, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Pete Russ, Mayor of the City of Green River, do hereby proclaim April 6, 2022 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our city, to thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. Okay, I'm pretty sure, is somebody here for sexual assault awareness? Okay. Okay, whereas the City of Green River recognizes the importance of designating a time devoted to increasing the general public's awareness of sexual assault and support of agencies providing services to victims of sexual assault. Whereas volunteers and service providers in our community are working to provide a continuum of care and service to sexual assault survivors through 24-hour hotlines, through counseling, support groups, advocacy, medical care, and education. And whereas the YWCA Center for Families and Children promotes sexual assault prevention by offering educational presentations to schools, to churches and civic organizations, as well as professional training and collaboration with medical, mental health, law enforcement, educators, and criminal justice personnel regarding sexual assault issues. And whereas the YWCA Center for Families and Children requests public support and assistance as we hold forth a vision of a community free from sexual violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Pete Russ, Mayor, do hereby declare the month of April 22nd, April 2022 to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Green River, Wyoming. I commend the observance of all citizens by urging each to learn what can be done to combat sexual violence and offer prevention measures and support and services to survivors. Run with the Badges will be held on Saturday, April 30th. The 5:10 10K run or walk will start at 9 a.m. at the Young at Heart Senior Center in Rock Springs. Information booths and refreshments will be offered following the race, so we would encourage everybody to participate. Did you want to address the council? And just go ahead and introduce yourself if you would.
My name is Chelsea Cortez, and I am the shelter manager for the YWCA. Every 68 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. Meanwhile, only 25 out of every 1,000 perpetrators will end up in prison. In 2021, YWCA assisted in 70 sexual survivors of sexual assault, more than half of those victims being children. How can we as a community help survivors of sexual assault? First, we can start by believing. 90 to 98% of survivors are telling the truth. False reporting is low. We invite you to participate in Denim Day, Wednesday, April 27th. This campaign began after a ruling by the Italian Supreme Court where a rape conviction was overturned because the justice felt that since the victim was wearing tight jeans, she must have helped the person who raped her to remove them, thereby implying consent. The following day, the women in the Italian parliament came to work wearing jeans in solidarity for the victim. For the past 22 years, the world has joined in protest the misconceptions that surround sexual violence. Please join us on April 30th for the 8th annual Run with the Badges to bring awareness to all victims of crimes. 5K and 10K races will start at 9 a.m., followed by community booths, recognition awards for law enforcement, and refreshments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Berg, if you, hang on, I've got a question for you.
Was that statistic you gave 25 out of 1,000?
25 out of 1,000 perpetrators.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a disgrace. Thank you. Okay, moving on. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week proclamation. I think we have 3 people. Just a guess. Okay, whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, emergency, medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers, our firefighters, is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone 911 communication centers. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Sweetwater County Combined Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, the suppression of fires, and the treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their jobs in the past year. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Pete Rest, do hereby proclaim April 10th through the 16th, 2022, to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Would anybody like to address the council on this issue? Go ahead and introduce yourself too, even though some of us might know who you are.
I think a few of you probably do. My name is Rick Hawkins. I'm the director of the Combined Communications Center. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor and the council for recognizing Telecommunicators Week, and also extend an invitation. We just finalized. We'll have a refreshments and an award presentation on April 13th. All councilmen and the mayor, for sure, everybody is invited to attend sometime between 6 and 8. At that time, we will present an award to a telecommunicator that was elected by her peers as the Hall of Fame telecommunicator for this year. So I'd like to invite you to that. And again, thank you for issuing this proclamation.
Okay.
And my 2 back there are shy to come up here, but they will.
Well, of course they are. We'll definitely get them up here for the picture. Okay, we're going to start off with, and somebody read these off to me in the proper order. Can you do that when let's go down here, guys. I think, who was first? Child abuse.
Beatty. Love that. Yep.
National Library.
Get a name. Ah, beautiful. Perfect.
Bring that one down. Sexual assault. Oh, okay.
There you go. Telecommunications.
Okay.
Nobody leave. I need to get names. Perfect.
Thank you.
And just to let it. I was just going to say, in case anybody wants to make a break, just feel more than comfortable right now to just kind of cruise on out so you don't. You can make sure your kids do their homework. At least you can use that as the reason why you're leaving. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is presentations, if I got it correct. Service recognition, pardon me, for Corporal Carl Bodie. Chief?
Mayor and council, I invite Corporal Bodie to come up and hang out with me for a few minutes. Appreciate the time on the agenda tonight to recognize Carl and give him this plaque. The plaque actually says in appreciation of 18 years of service. I think it's definitely worth noting that prior to service at the police department, Carl served in the U.S. Marine Corps, spending time in Iraq. He brought that experience and the dedication, everything he learned in that to our department in 2004. He's been with us since then. He's done a lot of great work over the years. Early on his career, he made DUIs a really large focus. He was honored by the governor on more than 1 year. I don't know how many altogether, 3 years altogether, for having over 50 DUIs in a year, which was a large amount. And at that time, particularly in our community, was a big issue. He made a large impact on that. Throughout his career, he also served as a task force officer with Division of Criminal Investigation, working drug cases. And then most recently, in the past 4 years, he's been our detective corporal. So he's been kind of leading the charge in helping organize and manage cases. He's always looking to better himself and looking for better ways to do things. During his time with the department, he's earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. He's also brought up all kinds of ideas on how to better investigate crimes. You know, one of the things that he really championed was the use of a program called Leads Online, where we're finding stolen property that was stolen here in Green River and pawn shops all across the Intermountain West. So he's definitely done an awful lot, and I appreciate your service and have the plaque for you. And we also have the shadow box that we normally do for officers that retire. And so it has his badge and cuffs and a few other trinkets that kind of characterize his service in the department. So we'll be presenting that to him too.
We need to go down there again.
Come on, you guys. Hey, Paul's back. Yeah, there you go. You guys stand in front of us.
My kids are huge.
Hey, guys. Almost.
Yes. You're good, right there, pop up right there.
It's the voting. I'm the man holding my plaque. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep, Joe Cobb makes these and it's phenomenal. That was the one.
See you, folks. Okay, next up on the agenda is SEDC, the Sweetwater County Economic Development Coalition. Did I get that right? Oh,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kayla McDonald. I am the Economic Development Specialist for the Sweetwater Economic Development Coalition. Before you, we have a packet. We're just going to run through a few items here. I'll direct you to the second page, this one right here. So first off, we haven't been to meet with you guys since June, so just a few things have changed since then. Going to highlight a few things that we've done since then up to current. So as of 2022, current January through now, we have responded to 3 Wyoming Business Council leads And currently, the middle one, Project Cyclone, is one that we are working very, let's just say we're very dedicated to this one right now. This is a current one that we actually toured out here 2 weeks ago. It's a manufacturer. There's some potential for 20 jobs at this point. Things are still confidential, so I can't really go into too much detail, but we feel pretty confident, and we'll hopefully have some news here soon, whether we're selected or not. The other two are also manufacturing. We're getting a lot on manufacturing small operations right now. We are directing them to the Wyoming Sites website where they can identify properties. We're currently looking at a lot of the oil and gas buildings that are vacant in Sweetwater County. The SCDC Advisory Board was recently reappointed back in at our last meeting. We have serving the same three individuals as their terms. Our Devin Brubaker is our chairman. We have Reed Clevenger, vice chairman, and Lauren Schoenfeld is our treasurer secretary. Marty Carollo, Mark Cowan, Keaton West, and Mayor Como. And Keaton is being appointed this evening for the city of Rock Springs, and Mark is the Sweetwater County newly appointment. SCDC partnered with Enrich Wyoming, which is Western Wyoming Community College's outreach program. This is a newly branded program that they have put together. To put together some education programs, we were identified as a partner because of previous programs that we had done when I was housed at the Chamber in Rock Springs for small business education. So we put together a curriculum for that, and a pretty good start out with attendees right now. They're signing up through the college, and those are the topics of human resources, social media and marketing, finance, and then coming up on May 26th, which I encourage and invite you guys to join as well. The Wyoming Business Council will be here to do a resource workshop. So we're inviting everybody in the elected officials, the community, the business community to attend. This will be from 9 a.m. to noon at Western Wyoming Community College. So if you have time, please join us. The Business in Focus magazine was something that Reed and I actually worked on about 2 or 3 years ago. We were interviewed, and they reached out just in January, and we did a follow-up, discussed industry and some of the expansions that are going to be going on. They did a really good highlight on us, and we actually won an ad in the February publication, which is the first document that you guys have on your packet. And if you're interested in that article, I'd be happy to send it over. It is on a digital piece through their website. SCDC recently applied for a 501c3 foundation, and we were just granted all of the boxes being checked, and we are now official as of last week. So what we are working on coming up in May, which we always do with you guys, is come before you for National Economic Development Week. And one of those pieces are going to be a fundraiser for us. So also on your packet, there's a list of events that these are pretty solid in dates and times. We're still filling in the May 13th event, but just a couple of things to point in your direction. We will be doing an event over here in Green River at one of your new businesses, Beauty and Bliss. We're working with some of the women-owned businesses, women entrepreneurs. We're partnering with Casey Kukert here to do basically just a meet and greet mixer, have some conversation. She's going to put together a presentation. And then we're going to do a 2-part series. The second one is going to fall the following week of Economic Development Week, only due to industry being in Washington, D.C. So they can't join us the May 12th. But once we have the location here at the Green River campus nailed down, we will be in touch. But we're going to have a conversation with industry. It's going to be a panel. We're inviting industry in to talk about projects that are going to affect the community, the economy, what the business community can expect as far as uptick in probably more traffic in their businesses, the tourism industry, how that's going to impact our hotels. So just an open conversation, and we invite you to that as well. And then at the bottom, the save the date for the Wyoming Business Council workshop. And the last item on here are 2022 goals. So we are looking at applying for a EDA grant to do some strategic planning. SCDC does not have a strategic plan. So that is an item that we have been looking to start working on and putting together. So that's something we'll start working on as soon as we get the grant in progress. We're working with our grant writer at the county to get that done. I have put myself in a mentor program with the Cheyenne Leads director, Betsy Hill. Her and I have had some discussions on how to help me. I don't have a mentor. It's been a while, and I'm trying to work towards getting some more experience so it'll help us here in Sweetwater County. Cheyenne Leads has been a great resource for us. They've met with Eric and I on how to grow our organization, and they're willing to work with me and as well as Eric and our board on some ideas on how to grow what we need to do here. We're going to go out and tour some of their business parks, just kind of shadow what they got going on. Very successful organization for 38 years in the state. So we are very appreciative that they're willing to work with me and our group. We're going to work on some marketing and recruitment as well. In order to be proactive in recruiting, we need to have some marketing materials. That'll be something that I'm sure we'll identify throughout our strategic plan. That's going to be an item that Eric will discuss when he comes up and talks about our fiscal year request to you guys. And another goal is to increase our funding. So that's where the 501c3 comes in. We've worked with Rocky Mountain Power. They helped us with the rebrand and logo website project last year. That also was part of why we put together a foundation so we can take in some donations and work towards funding mechanisms being grown. The final thing is a business retention program. We don't have a business retention program in Sweetwater County. So what our goal is to start working with the chambers of commerce to identify how we can help our current businesses grow and retain. And that's going to be everything from probably surveys to more events along the lines of small business trainings. And so we're looking at putting together a program. So that should be launched probably this summer. So watch for some information following on that. So I'll take any questions and then I'm going to turn it over to Eric. So if you have anything.
Any questions for Kayla? Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Kayla. I just had a question. With the business retention expansion program, would you also include the home businesses as well?
I'm sure we will. Yeah, our
just
goal
make
is
sure.
to, oh yeah, definitely. Well, in the past, what we did is we worked with the larger businesses and did some surveys. My goal is to get those larger businesses done first, since a lot of them are going to be doing some R&D and probably expansions throughout like our large Trona industry, things of that, and then going into small businesses. And then, yes, our home base. There's a large number of home base between Rock Springs and Green River. So
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thanks, Kayla.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. So just want to talk just kind of the state of things as far as financially, how we're looking at right now. So right now, as you may not know, but we have an MOU with City of Green River, Rock Springs, and the county, and we all contribute $30,000 towards economic development. I'm Eric Bingham. I'm the Sweetwater County Land Use Director, and that's where we house economic development right now. And so when we transferred Kayla over to the county, with that came benefits and retirement and such like that. So right now we're looking at loaded costs of employment of about $95,000. So you can kind of do the math. We fund $90,000, but we have $95,000 just in costs of labor. So what we're looking at and what we used to have was about $10,000 in operating. But what we'd like to do is we sat down with our economic development board and we'd like to properly fund this. The big issue that, and it's expensive, of course, is marketing. And we're doing the best we can right now with marketing, but we would like to expand on that. And when we talk about marketing, we're talking about marketing Green River, the county, everything in the county, and City of Rock Springs. So it's an important piece. That is kind of how things are through, as far as recruitment goes, is through digital. Also going to trade shows and such. This last lead came from a trade show that we were not at, but the Business Council was at. And these are things that we could possibly attend. And, when the Business Council does a fantastic job, but when they do go to these, they're promoting the state. They're not promoting specific counties. They're saying, please come to and then these companies say, okay, this county would be good and this county would fit our needs. So what we were looking at is potentially raising that budget from right now from 90,000 to 210,000. So the 90,000, so we could cover the labor costs. And then on top of that, would include upping the travel so that we can go to some of these events, do some marketing, SEO, search engine optimization, things like that, programmatic marketing, things where we can get on the internet and actually promote Sweetwater County and attract businesses here. So when the MOU does come before you, Mayor and Council, we just ask for your favorable consideration in that and raising that amount from 30,000 to 70,000 for each entity. I have spoken with the city of Rock Springs. Of course, we're going through the budgeting process right now. I've spoken with the county commissioners about it. They're committed to economic development, as we can see, because it is housed here out there in the county. So we just ask for your consideration, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thanks, Eric. Is there any questions for Eric? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Obviously, economic development's a very important issue in getting jobs here. So thank you, guys. So I'm going to take a 1-minute recess in case anybody that is here would like to take off. See you guys. See you guys. Okay. Citizen requests and other communications. Are there any citizens in the audience that are not on the agenda or not speaking to something on the agenda that want to address the council right now? Seeing none, let's move ahead. Item 7, board and committee appointments. Reappointment of Michelle Schmidt to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Michelle Schmidt has volunteered to continue serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term beginning May 1st, 2022 and expiring April 3rd, 2025. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Bushman.
I move to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Michelle Schmidt to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term beginning May 1st, 2022 and ending April 30th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 8, ordinances. Consideration of second reading an ordinance amending the City of Green River Ordinance, Chapter 7, Article 2 through 9, Building and Building Regulations. Does anybody want to address this issue? I mean, we're kind of familiar with it. Council, do you need any? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Berg.
I move to approve on second reading the amendments to Chapter 7 of the City of Green River Code of Ordinances as they relate to the adoption of the 2021 International Code Council Building Codes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Berg, seconded by Councilman Zimmerman. Any discussion? Seeing all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And if anybody out there is wondering why we're moving along, and we've already discussed this is a second reading, and this is basically just adopting what national requires you to do. So it's not a whole lot of consideration to be done. Item B, consideration on second reading an ordinance rezoning from B2 downtown business to B1 general business. The applicants, the United Pentecostal Church property owner and Smith's Food and Drug Centers Incorporated, the petitioner, are requesting an amendment to the official zoning map for a parcel located at 1175 Bridger Drive from B2 downtown business to B1 general business. The petitioner is requesting this change to construct a fuel and concession kiosk. What's your pleasure, council?
Yes, Mayor. I move
to approve the second reading of ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Green River to rezone the property located at 1157 Bridger Drive.
1175, George.
Or 1175, I'm sorry. 1175 from B2 downtown business to B1 general business.
Can we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Do we? Yes, sir.
I'm Gordon Smith, and I am not in favor of this at all. I voiced my opinion the last city council meeting, and it's still the same. We don't need a gas station / convenience store 200 feet from an existing one. We don't need the additional traffic on Bridger Drive, which is one of the busiest streets in Green River. And we don't need another place for the kids to hang out at night and raise all kinds of ruckus and stuff, and have fluorescent lighting on 24 hours a day mainly. And also, when this was first presented, it was just a fuel kiosk that would be manned one shift a day. And the last meeting, it was said it would be a convenience store and a kiosk manned 2 shifts a day, which still leaves 8 to 10 hours that this facility is unmanned. And a gas station that's unmanned is not, in my opinion, high on the list of safety items. So, and my neighbor was coming with me, but he ended up homesick, so I'm here alone again and give you my opinion.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr.? Go ahead.
Just my question would be for Amy. The lights, I would imagine the lights are required by code to be down focused, and that there's no light pollution that would be off the lot higher than 1 foot candle, I would imagine.
I'm not for sure exactly what those requirements are. Those are all things that will be addressed during the major site plan review, and engineering will look at that, and they have strict regulations when they look at those things. So
I was just gearing that towards, his,
yeah, it doesn't matter
his
what's their
concerns.
lighting's, any lighting will be addressed at major site.
Yes.
plans, So.
And also, Chief, I would imagine that you have an opinion whether this will be an area of higher vagrancy or crime.
Mayor and council, I suppose I would just refer to our experience with other businesses in the area. An overnight business generally does not cause more calls for service. There are certain opportunities, especially for a manned convenience store, for crime to occur late at night when nobody's around. We have unfortunately experienced some tragedies in our community because of that. I don't think this would be any more or less than what we have other in town as far as crime goes. We certainly would patrol it, and would certainly be responsive to citizens' concerns regarding people hanging out there late at night or congregating, disturbing the peace in the neighborhood would still be addressed. Changing something to a business zone does not change the requirement to not disturb your neighbors. So we would enforce any type of noise nuisances and things like that in the same way we would any other place in town.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Amy.
Any other questions at the moment, council? Does anybody else want to address the council on this issue?
Mayor, thank you for your time and the council. I just want to address a couple of things, just to make sure there's clarification here. I certainly appreciate Mr. Smith and his concerns here. just for clarification, we're talking about a convenience store versus a fuel center. What we've put forward is not a convenience store. So it's not like a 7-Eleven where you go in and buy things. We do have the fuel pumps, and then it does have a little kiosk that would be attached to the fuel, much like you may have seen in other Smith's locations throughout the West here. So we're not talking about an actual walk-in convenience store. The vast majority of the traffic that will be shopping and fueling up at this center will be people that are coming to shop at Smith's. It's not a great fuel location per se, other than the fact that it's adjacent to a Smith's food. And if you're familiar with the rewards points and that, it's very popular. It does provide some loyalty to Smith's. But I don't think you're going to find people driving off the interstate and going up there to buy their fuel unless they're already going shopping. So that would be something to consider as far as the traffic's concerned. So we do try to do our best to secure the locations, and certainly, I would agree with what the police chief said that we think it would be more secure than an empty church building sitting there, looking for trouble to happen. So, but that being said, we certainly appreciate the concerns. We'll do everything we can to address those through the whole design process and do what we can to make it a great asset to the neighborhood. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Hang on one second, if you would. Councilman Kilpack.
The question I have is that kiosk getting, the only thing I can compare it to is you have one in Mesquite at the Smith store. I don't know if you've ever been there before.
In Mesquite, Nevada.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And how does that compare to the fuel stations like at Costco or Sam's Club? Is it basically exactly the same thing?
Well,
all that's there is just gas pumps. That's it.
Yeah. So Costco just has gas pumps.
Right.
This has a small kiosk. It's a little fortress, someone sitting in there. And it is open for basically the daylight hours. It's not manned during the night. So you're not going to have someone there at 3 a.m. So it is kind of more of a convenience for people, patrons that come in, and if they want to pay cash and that type of thing, you can do that. In the off hours, it's credit card only.
And so does it have drinks and candy bars and
it does
that kind of stuff in it?
Very limited. Interestingly, Smith's is not a great operator of convenience stores. I mean, you go to a convenience store, you buy a candy bar, it costs you $3.50. The price of the candy bars are the same as in the store.
$1.
Whatever runs in the store, So it's the same pricing. They have a very limited, they've got some gum and candy bars, a few things like that. But and
so when it's closed at night, how does the gas pumps work?
It's just a credit card.
Just like normal,
just
like Costco.
Yeah. So you can go there after hours and use your credit card. We've got one near our house. Similar situation. Smith's likes to have these, like I said, because it creates a loyalty, very popular amongst people. If you can go in and save 50 or 75 cents off a gallon, it's a good thing, especially now. It is a great benefit to the community in that it's an investment by Kroger to put that kind of money into a particular center. It kind of anchors that center, and like I said, it does give the store a bit of a lift because people will come and shop there because they like the fuel points. So,
Councilman Berg.
I have a question for Acting Chief Robinson.
Okay. Yeah. Mayor,
Thank you.
council.
In that location, a fuel kiosk at 2-3 o'clock in the morning has an accident happen as far as a major fuel spill. Do you see any challenges in handling that?
I'd have to look at it. I don't see any more challenges than what we see at that Loaf and Jug just down on the corner there.
Thank you.
But I'll definitely take a look at it. So.
Go ahead, Amy.
I would just like to mention also that, again, during the major site plan review of this, no matter what is approved here, fire will be reviewing that also for safety and, make sure that they can get in and out of there. And I mean, during that major site plan review, we will involve all departments, engineering, planning and zoning, outside entities, fire. Everybody gets the same email that they can review this. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Yeah, and the community needs to be aware of that. That's the process in which you talk about the particulars of the design of the use. Today, we're talking about, is that the uses that are involved in this particular zone district appropriate on this property? That's the issue, not so much the design, the traffic flow, all that's done during the development review committee process. So go ahead, Councilman Kilpack.
So the public understand is all we're doing is changing the zoning right now, nothing else. All this other stuff takes a whole different.
Right. There's no permit going to be issued as a result of what we're doing. We're changing the zoning of the property. Go ahead, Councilman Berg.
A lot of these go into the respect of why was it zoned the way it was to begin with, though. That's why I bring up some of these questions.
Sure.
Is maybe there was a reason, have we looked back to see why this piece of property was specifically zoned that way? Sure.
It's an odd situation.
True. Mark does investigate all this stuff. He's gone back 40, 50 years on something.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Westensco, Public Works Director. As far as the zoning on this particular site, it is interesting because it's an odd area. We noticed that we're zoning from B2 downtown business to B1 general business. So I think the question is, why was it ever zoned B2 downtown business? This particular property is actually split. Granted, most of it's in B2, and so the little sliver that's in B1. That's typically not what we try to do when we're establishing a zoning boundaries. You don't like to split lots. You like to tell them what they are and what they're not. It is on the boundary. In fact, it's splitting. B2 does not allow gas sales. B1 does. So a sliver of the property would allow gas sales, and the majority of it wouldn't. So what we're trying to do here is make it all consistent to B1. That's the proposal. That's why this site, to a certain extent, was chosen. And I think the question is a good one. Why was B2 established in this area anyway 40, 50 years ago? And I don't know that I have a great answer for that, but that's where our two big box, if you will, stores are there. So
okay, so that kind of leads to my next question. Are there ever areas that are zoned a certain way for public safety?
yes, typically you would see that you might zone an industrial zone to be separated from a residential zone. Because the activities that would be involved in an industrial zone might not be totally compatible with certain residential uses. In this particular case, it's been zoned B1, B2, right across the street from residential from the very beginning.
I have one more question, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mark? So from what you're just now telling me, if Smith's wanted to put this kiosk up in the corner of their parking lot, it's already zoned to do that?
No, it's actually not zoned to do that. The property that Smith's store itself sits on is B2, and the gas station would not be allowed on that without rezoning basically the entire block.
So
this is the smallest rezone that would accomplish what they're trying to do.
So, but all the other property around it is zoned the way that we're contemplating to do this. Is not the laundry and
everything to the east is zoned this way. The two big stores
right
are zoned B2.
Right. You see.
This is really the smallest change that accomplishes the goal.
Okay, is there any further questions, council? Okay, if not, we have a motion and a second. I'm gonna, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I'm assuming I only heard Robert. Is that correct? Or Councilman Berg? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-1 is the vote. Okay, moving on. Consideration to approve the resolution to release the subordination agreement in the River Bend subdivision.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As I come by, Steve said I had to keep it short and sweet, so I will. Back in 1982, the council entered some agreements for some grant funds in the River Bend subdivision. Through a title search last year, one of the title search companies requested that we release it. It's kind of a formality. Galen and I both kind of agree that it should be there, but the title companies asked us to release it. So we've brought forward a resolution to release something that was released, what, 30 years ago almost. With that, that's all there is to it.
Right. This is pretty straightforward if you've read the report, right? Anybody have any questions for Chris? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move to approve the resolution as attached and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Any further discussion? Here, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item B, consideration of a resolution to approve an increase in the general funds for fiscal year 2022. That might be the financial director. Chris?
I'm back again, Mayor and Council. I'll make this one short and sweet too. Every year we bring a cleanup resolution in front of you. This year's that same thing. You'll notice there's a whole lot of moving parts, but the actuality is we're only moving $66,000 on this. So, but you'll see there's a lot of moving in and out of different divisions in that, but it's mostly just to clean things up, keep everybody within budget, and most everything, in fact, I think everything has been brought forward to you at one time or another in some other fashion. So we're just cleaning up the budget a little bit.
Okay, again, this is straightforward. Anybody have any questions of Chris? Nope. How about a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to approve the resolution increasing the general funds for the fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $65,600.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Zimmerman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 10, council action items. Consideration to award the concession stand proposals for Stratton Myers and Veterans Park. Again, this is pretty straightforward. We don't need any presentations, do we, council? No. Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Berg.
I move to enter into an agreement with Renee Johnson, doing business as the Snack Shack, to operate the concession stands at Stratton Myers and Veterans Park for the 2022 season, pending legal approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item B, consideration of environmental services proposal with Inberg Miller Engineering for closure of the landfill monitoring. Again, this is pretty straightforward, but we can have Mark very briefly tell us what this is all about.
I have to come up for the next one anyway. So every year we do environmental monitoring. We're required by DEQ to do some monitoring of the closed landfills. And this is a contract with the service providers for those for that monitoring. We do this on an annual basis.
Okay, again, that's straightforward. Anybody have any questions for Mark? Okay, we'll have entertain them. Go ahead, George.
Have they ever found any water or anything up there to monitor, or do they just check an empty well?
We have a number of monitoring wells around the landfill, both upstream and downstream. And they do monitor and measure constituents in the water that's in those wells. Some of them are more, it's easier to get water out of some of them than others. There's one that's kind of stubborn that they have trouble getting water out of. But and it's interesting to see what's happening upstream and downstream. So typically we see there are things that we watch. There are changes that occur slowly over time, but they occur in both things upstream and downstream. So we've not seen anything that's been a trigger that would indicate any problems with the landfill or either of the landfills that's closed up there. And then they also monitor methane, and they monitor just a general site condition, would examine erosion and point out areas that we need to go investigate if we haven't already touched them.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Councilman Zimmerman.
I move to approve the environmental services proposal with Inberg Miller Engineers for $12,500 and authorize the mayor to sign the proposal.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item C, consideration of WWTP replacement facility loan restructure amendments. This one's kind of interesting.
This one is interesting.
Saving money.
Yeah. So a few years ago, and as we've been working on the wastewater treatment plant replacement over the last several years, we have taken out two loans, one for design and one for construction. The total amount between the two is $30 million. The original interest rate on each of the loans was 2.5%. We recently went out to bid and discovered that the market doesn't like us, and we're looking for additional funding. As we've been talking to the State Office of State Lands about the additional funding, they mentioned that they have recently changed their rules and allow us to ask for a reduction in our interest rate down to 0.5% because our project is so large. What that does for us is that saves us about $9 million in interest over the life of the loans. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Now, with that, that gives us a few options going forward. We've been watching the legislature. They've recently passed some legislation related to the ARPA funds. They're also in writing rules related to the infrastructure bill that recently passed through Congress. And as we watch and work with them as they're working on the rulemaking there, we hope to be able to access some of those funds. If we need to, that does also give us the opportunity, if we need to go back to the Office of State Lands and ask to use some of that savings against the interest as principal, that's also an opportunity that's available to us. So we'll have more conversations about this going forward. Right now, they just want to make sure that we get the documents signed around to make sure that we're getting that 0.5%. We're going to hold on to it. I don't care what the interest rates do anywhere else. We got that 0.5% on the loans. So
makes sense. Save a lot of money. Anybody have any questions for Mark?
Sounds like to me it frees up about $8 or $9 million more dollars they can go after.
Yeah, really.
They need it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Bushman.
I move to approve the First Amendment to Loan Agreement CW 160 and the First Amendment to Loan Agreement CW 182 for the wastewater treatment plant replacements facility project, and authorize the mayor to sign the amendments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 2022 Wyoming District 4 Annual Operating Plan Agreement. Chief.
I'll make him do the Jamestown one when it comes up. This is this is the same one we do every year. Just basically for all our, from district to district or area to area, we same agreement we do every year. For that first free 24 hours, so nobody can get billed or anything like that, so. Pretty straightforward. We are gonna try to push for one change and try to make this instead of annual, try and do it and then try and push it out, so we don't have to do it every year, so.
Okay, I've read the agreement in the packet, but there's all kinds of different groups and cooperative agreements and this and that. But anybody have any questions? Okay, let's entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Councilman Zimmerman.
I move to approve the District 4 Annual Operating Plan Agreement and authorize the mayor to sign said agreement pending legal review.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Mr. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Congratulations to Carl Bodie again. That's impressive. I know he was been a long-term member here, whatever, and he's also excited on the next chapter of his life. So just as a reminder, it was in the update that you were sent, but the community service grants have all been put together. They're in your boxes if you want to go ahead and review them. Take a look. For the most part, they're, I would say they're generic to last year, not a whole lot of changes from it, but Chris and Ryan and I will be meeting on that over the next week or 2 weeks. We'll present in front of the finance committee as well. So if you have questions, if you can get it within council, just to have it, we can make sure we're addressing anything before that. And then after that, we'll take a look and decide which ones we may want to, if they need to come in based on which way we're moving within the budget. We've the one-on-one meetings for the department heads will be Thursday and Friday. So we're, pushing through that process. It's looking good in terms of getting that stuff in. We've had some, of course, it's challenging right now with the revenues. We did receive this month's revenue. I'm going to save it for Mayor Rust. And then also just that we have the, if you can, and if you haven't done it yet, or if you can share it, the specific purpose initiative that was out for the 6 penny. There's that survey. It's on Sweetwater now. We also have it on our website. Steve's posted it up there and put the link in there. Any kind of input that we can get. They do have that survey so that it does mix up some of the questions, mix up some of the items. Well, hopefully, I don't know the stats on it yet, but we want to get as much as we can input on that before we have that presented to us. So if you haven't shared that, please do, or if you haven't taken it, please do. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Reed. Mr. City Attorney Galen.
I have no report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Galen. Let's start with Councilman Kilpack.
On the 6 penny, I went to a meeting last week on Wednesday evening and with a number of organizations throughout the community, and it was very positive. And right now, as Mr. Clevenger has said, that we're kind of waiting until this survey comes back before there's a final decision on how they're going to move forward and the amount of projects and also the amount of dollars that they're going to settle on. And so it looks real good, very positive and extremely needed. And everybody that was in the committee or in that meeting was very positive in the effect that we need this extra penny for the things that are necessary throughout our entire county, small communities, large communities. And so it turned out really good. So it was a positive meeting. So I'm looking forward to the next meeting that they have. And then the next thing I have is, this is for you, Reed, and maybe the mayor can answer this too, is do you know when the horse corral approval is going to be coming before us? Because that deadline's getting pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, I had sent an email to Mayor Rust about possibly workshopping that one before the next council meeting and having it on the agenda for next council meeting. We've got all the comments back. I'll send that out with the comments and maybe the approach to take. And if you feel it needs to have a workshop, we just need to know in the next couple of days. But I mean, we've gone through it a couple of times, but I'll give you the comments from the horse corral as well as from staff and the rework on that agreement.
So we're pretty close to that deadline, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and I just want to make a comment on that is we need to, we've got several little issues we need to talk about, not have necessarily a long planning issue like we'd hope to get into with downtown revitalization. We just need to take care of some business. And so this would be one of them. If anybody else has anything else that they think is that sort of a thing, you need to call and let us know right away so we can tell Tara and put it on the agenda. And we'll have a workshop next Tuesday if you guys all agree. 'Cause we
No,
gotta
the,
get- we gotta
the,
get-
what- the pre-meet, what's today?
Maybe it's too late for that one.
The 19th is what we're
It
talking
is.
about.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So just get back as soon as you can so we can get this in. So we make the deadline for wherever the calendar right in front of me.
19th.
For the 19th. So. Okay. Yeah, just before because that'd be quick. I see. Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Councilman Jost.
Yeah, I just have one quick thing. Last week, I think it was last week, I attended the joint communications meeting for Sweetwater County, the Joint Powers Board. But I just attended. I'm not a member of the board, but it was kind of a busy meeting for Chief Jarvie. He was the chairman, and they had an appointment show up that wasn't approved. And there was a lot of discussion inside the board, from outside the board. There was quite a bit going on there. And Chief Jarvie just did an excellent job keeping things in order, under control. There was a lot that went on. So I would just thought it was a good meeting, and it was a lot different than just saying, usually they just pay the bills and go home sometimes. But there was a lot more than that in that meeting. It was a pretty interesting meeting. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, George. Councilwoman Bushman.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just want to thank Ryan for all his notes on the legislation and all that hard work, because I know that's intense. So I appreciate it. But I also wanted to just mention the Welcome Home Veterans for some that was not able to attend. It was a packed house. It was incredible. There were some tears. There was smiley faces, good food from Coltrane. But it was just well attended, and I really appreciate it. I was going to show real quick. So the governor gave me his coin, so that was kind of cool. I don't know if he did, but it's really nifty. Anyways, but if you want to look at it, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I'd just comment, on that too, that I was there. It was great. I mean, there was a lot of people. It was packed. And I think the governor appreciated it. And certainly, I think more importantly, the people that were there that were veterans, and the way that it had started out originally was to celebrate Vietnam veterans, in view of the fact that when they came home from Vietnam, they weren't celebrated very well back in the day. And this was established particularly to make up for that disgrace of how people were treated when they came back. And it was very well received. And I could tell you for sure that the people that were the Vietnam veterans that were there, they really did appreciate it. And so we appreciate the governor coming out. And Sherry did a great job of emceeing the whole thing. Councilman Berg.
I just want to apologize for almost being late and the attire that I'm wearing. I ended up coming straight from the Green River High School varsity boys soccer game, and they won 1-0 against Star Valley. And I'd heard at that game that the girls had won the previous match, the varsity girls. So go Wolves.
Cool. And I'm going to comment on this one too. I drove past the high school and I knew Councilman Berg was out there, and I was good, good for him watching and supporting his son. I'm heading to the city hall and getting in where it's warm, because that wind was howling. It was, the wind chill's pretty darn cold for an hour and a half, right, Robert? Okay, Councilman Zimmerman.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, and don't call me Your Honor. Just kidding. So sales tax for the month, and the reason why I asked Reed not to say it, because I called the deputy director of the Department of Revenue at the beginning of every month. She's used to me now for years, and 700, just short of 754,000 is what we got this month in sales tax, the past month, kind of a thing. So a little ahead of what was budgeted, about 125,000 more than last year, more or less. And the year before it was even lower, kind of a thing. So we continue to be on the right direction. Not as much as we would like, but obviously the month of April, typically I think, after Christmas, things slow down a little bit. So it is not such a big revenue generating month. And then pretty quick tourism starts and things will start picking up, and we'll hopefully, realize that and get a little bit more money. I did attend by Zoom the Region 6 meeting of the Wyoming Association of Municipalities, to which we belong to. And it was in Rollins. There was nobody from Rollins in attendance at the meeting until the very last minute. The guy came in and just kind of got the end of the meeting. There was one person from the mayor of Superior, a gal from Hannah. And the other community is so small, I don't even remember what it was, but it was smaller than Hannah. So I'm not sure what else is out there. And I forget. I think it was, is there a Burns out there? No. Anyway, there was 4 people. So the 2 staff people from Cheyenne, nobody in the community that's hosting it, and 4 people on, and I don't want it to get back to Wham, but it was a complete waste of time. So don't quote me on that, anybody. Because what was done was a summation of the legislative session and the bills. We've all had that in the city of Green River multiple times. So, I mean, we could have given the presentation much easier than them. It may well be for the smaller towns that don't have that kind of staffing. It was well worth it to hear that kind of a thing. So I'm not saying that overall it was bad. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn before I keep going.
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Zimmerman. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.